We're back. So we're going from food to greed,
Oh my gosh.
right?
Yes, this is a crazy world.
It is. It is.
I'm waiting to hear the trumpets. I told you, did I?
That would be.
Did I tell you was it last week or walking or a week before on Friday with the seniors? And we were walking around the auditorium and I had to go to the necessary room and somebody else was going up another direction. And pretty soon there's just two of them there. And they said, was there a rapture? Are we the ones left behind? It's like, wait a minute, where did they all go?
That is funny. You
It was
never
funny.
know.
It was like, they just disappeared because they never saw any of us leave. They're talking and walking. It's like, where did everybody go? Do we not know something? It's like, oh.
That's funny.
It is funny, but the world's not funny.
No, no. And we've been talking amongst ourselves about this Israel situation. So, and she's been doing her own little research. I've been doing some of my own little research and all. So, what have you come up with?
Well, interesting the day you mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends had posted on Facebook this whole article about answering people when they ask questions, and I can't read this because I think this is Hebrew writing,
It
so
looks like it. Mm-hmm.
I can't read this. It was put out October 15th, and it's like, surely you have acquaintances and friends that ask questions, and you can send them this text. And the whole text and she put the whole thing out, including a map of the Middle East. And I thought it was quite interesting because this whole thing um, goes through a Palestinian state, which is that not what they're fighting over?
Yes, that's my understanding. Yes, that Israel should be wiped
Wiped
off
out.
from the river to the sea. That means
Right.
everything, everybody. We don't believe that.
I don't believe
No, I
that.
don't
No, we
believe
do
that.
not believe
No,
that.
I support Israel.
And the ironic thing is, before you came, I was sitting here trying to stay awake because it was a late meeting last night, and I'm like, gee, I did sleep. And I've done this before. I mean, we talked about the family trees. And is this a religious war?
It is.
It is a religious war.
It boils back down to religions.
Yes,
To religion.
and if you do some of the studies and go back to the roots, you go all the way back to Abraham,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Sarah, who had Isaac and became the Hebrew state. And see, this is what I was doing before. And then on the other side, Abraham, who had the son by Hagar. Now, Hagar was Egyptian.
Mm-hmm.
So she was a slave woman and she had Ishmael,
Mm-hmm.
which became the Arab and the
Mm-hmm.
Muhammad and Islam. And of course, Islam then has the Sunni and the Shiites. And over the Hebrew, you have Judaism and Christianity. And under that Christianity, there's where the rest of us Gentiles came in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you look back, our root is from Isaac.
Well, back then, if you were not, if you're not Jew, you're Gentile.
That's right. That's
I mean,
right.
that's the way it was in the Bible. If you were not a Jew, you were a Gentile, and you were not considered to be worthy of anything at that point. I mean, back in their mind, you weren't.
That's true.
We were not. We could not have worshipped their God without changing everything that we totally did to become.
Because we were basically pagans.
Pretty much so.
Pretty
Anybody
much so.
that was, yes.
And now, history, you can't change history. We're talking about history here.
Correct.
But
you can learn from it.
Boy, you can learn so much from it. And whether you are a believer or not, this is history that we're following, okay? You can believe whatever you'd like about Jesus. Some people just believe he was a prophet, but...
Well, let's clear that up too. Even some of the Jews do not believe Jesus was Jesus.
That's right.
They don't believe that he is the Messiah that we believe him to be.
That's right.
They just believe, they do not believe him to be who he says.
The Messianic Jews will accepted that. But in their Torah,
Mhm.
he was all the acts that he did, earmarking the Messiah, was pinpointed. It was written there about 300 times what he was going to do, and
Well,
he did it.
well, and if you go back to in our Bible and everything, if you go back to Isaiah, I mean, it foretells a lot of things as well.
Exactly,
And so, I
yes.
mean, and
The
you
Old
see,
Testament.
and then you could go back and look and go, okay, well, here's where it happened.
That's right.
So there are ways to correlate everything, but yes,
There is.
it was pre um
Predestined.
pre-told.
Yep, it
Hmm.
was. I mean, okay, if
So
it
I
looks
mean,
like a duck, walks like a duck, and does all the action, it probably is a duck. And if this man who walked the earth did all of these things that had been foretold, and you don't believe it, well, that's your problem then. So going back a little bit, and I've got my chosen shirt on today.
okay.
And we've been reading about Mark. If you don't, I know that you're saying, well, we're not trying to convert anybody, but if you want to read some interesting stuff and how to lead a life, study the Bible.
Hmm.
And I think that what's happening in the world and in the Middle East is it's nothing about what they really believe supposedly as a religion. They just want to wipe you out. And they want your land.
Yeah, they're jealous.
Yeah, there's greed there. Because if you read, I really wish I knew who this gentleman was who wrote this. It says, before the modern state, Israel state, it was a British mandate, not a Palestinian state.
Hmm.
Okay, and before the British mandate, the Ottoman Empire existed, not a Palestinian state. And before the Ottoman, there was a fully Islamic state of Egypt, not a Palestinian state. Well, remember, we're talking about Hagar, who was Egyptian. There you go. Before the Islamic State of Egypt, the empire of Abdid, I can't pronounce it, existed, not a Palestinian state. Gufri IV of Ballingstein, known as Godfrey de Bouillon, conquered Jerusalem in 1099. I think this is a great little history sheet. I love it.
Hmm.
And in Jerusalem in 1099. Before the empire of that one, there was a Christian kingdom of Jerusalem, not the Palestinian state. And before the kingdom of Jerusalem, there was Umayyad and Fatimid empires, not the Palestinian state. Before the empires of Umayyad and Fatimid, there was the Byzantine Empire, not the Palestinian state. And before that, there was the Roman Empire. And before the Roman Empire, there was a Hezmon state, not a Palestinian state. And before that one was the Seleucid. I can't pronounce these words.
Yeah, they're different for us.
Yep. And before the state of that um, was the Seleucid state, not the Palestinian. And then before that, Slavic Empire, the Empire of Alexander of Macedonia, not the Palestinian. And before the Empire of Alexander of Macedonia, must have been Alexander the Great.
That's what I'm wondering.
Probably.
Mhm.
The Persian Empire existed, not the Palestinian state. And before the Persian Empire, the Babylonian Empire existed, not the Palestinian state. And before that, the kingdoms of Israel and Judea, not the Palestinian. And before the kingdoms of Israel and Judea was the kingdom of Israel. And before the kingdom of Israel, there was the theocracy of 12, tribalism of Israel. And before the 12 generations of Israel, there was the agglomeration of the independent Canaan cities, not a Palestinian. In fact, in this corner of the earth, there was everything except a Palestinian state. And this person told people to spread this all in social networks and pass it on to groups and chats. Well, that's what we're sort of doing.
Mhm. So according to his history, there has never been a Palestinian anything.
No, no. And if you see the map that he provided, it was the empire of David and Solomon. So there's Israel, and there's the Phoenicians and the Philistine, and you get Edom and Israel and
'Cause I think,
Zabra
wasn't
and
Edom
Hema,
where,
Edom and Gomorrah.
wasn't Edom where, Esau's people were? Weren't they Edomites or, anyway, it all does break out. Because Jacob and Esau, they spread out, and and Esau went to a different part,
That's right.
and then Jacob got a certain amount and stuff.
Yes, where's my little family
So
tree that
it's
I studied here? Yep.
so where did Palestine derive from? Where did it come about for Palestine? That they thought that they were the ones. Is it because of Ishmael?
I don't know. I had Ishmael. His Ishmael was called the wild donkey, and his hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. And then you have Isaac, and that's the tree that comes down into the Hebrews and the Jews. But I don't know. I almost think that the Palestinians were more like nomads, because if they never had a country of their own, where did they come from? Now you gotta look it up. You could just
Well, I
ask
mean,
her.
I have been trying to get some of this myself because and it's not totally clear to me.
If you look at the family trees, and I looked at these and was copying some of this down, they came from the same stock. And brothers hated brothers, and their DNA's got to be pretty much the same.
All right, it says the word Palestine derives from Philistia, the name
Okay.
given by Greek writers to the land of the Philistines, who in the 12th century BCE, let's see, and this is from Britannica.com.
Is that the Gaza Strip?
Well, it says the word Palestine derives from Philistia, the
See?
name given by Greek writers to the land of the Philistines, who in the 12th century BCE occupied a small pocket of land in the southern coast between modern Tel Aviv, Yaffo, and Gaza.
Right there it is. There it is.
So, but it derives from Philistia.
So they were the people who lived on that area.
It says, now this one says, this is from Palestine on the history of geography, and it's from tnoffline.com. Let me see. It says the name was, the question is, what was Palestine called in the Bible? The name was familiar to their ancient neighbors occurring in Egypt as Purasati, in Assyrian and Palestu, and in the Hebrew Bible as Pelishit, which is Exodus 14:14, Isaiah 14:29, and Joel 3:4. In the English Authorized Version, Pelishit be rendered Palestina, or in Joel only, Palestine. So that would be interesting to look up those verses. So Exodus 14:14.
Your little Bible in there.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. What version do you have?
I've been using the, let's see, hold on, I'll tell you. ESV.
Okay.
Let's see, because I can make it whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, but let's see. So let's look up. That was Exodus. I do like having my Bible with me because so it was Exodus 14 and 14. Well, this one doesn't say anything. This one just says the Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see what it's talking about.
What was that in Exodus? Which one?
14:14. Let me see what else this said. I know it said The Hebrew Bible as Pelishah. See Exodus 14:14, Isaiah 14:29 and 31, and Joel 3:4. Let's see if you look it up. So in their minds, I guess, they're thinking it belongs to them.
Well, that portion,
But the
but not,
Philistines were the ones that David fought, correct?
yeah, and if you look at it, that's just a little strip of land. Is that what is considered the Gaza Strip? Where they live now?
I don't know. And see that
I'm trying to find where.
well, it says here that it was the coastal region north and south of Gaza, which was occupied and settled by the Philistine invaders from across the sea. But you also have to, okay, so I guess my question is Israel has been conquered and taken over so many different times.
That's right.
So when you go back and I guess you start drawing lines again as to what's what, I mean, I'm trying, I stand with Israel no matter what. And I don't know that area that well, but I do know that they were conquered by many people, Israel was. So they were conquered, it was taken back, then I mean, it's been given back to them. I mean, I'm in Jeremiah now, and how Jeremiah, I mean, God is telling them, I'm going to take this away from you because of the way you're behaving and stuff, and eventually, when you're ready to come back, I will bring you back. And I mean, they've been given over to so many different, as you said, empires. You read that.
Yep.
Over time. So then when you go and start drawing boundary lines again,
That would be this.
is that where the issues are coming up with?
See, I have no idea, because I would like to know what is considered the Gaza Strip.
Well, I think that's there. I think it's this little piece down
I
here.
think so too.
I think when you look up modern day Gaza, I think it's this little area that they're fighting for. That they're fighting.
That's right. And that's on the eastern coast, Mediterranean border by Egypt.
Mm-hmm. And if you look
Would
it up
be
on a
here.
map,
Yep, let's see
I
if they
think
show us on a
it
map.
should show you.
They actually moved it down.
So it's a little bit further.
A little bit farther down, and because there's Egypt.
But it's all right here close to, it's still in this little area.
It's still in that little area. They just moved it down so that they have Egypt with them.
So, but I mean, when you want to wipe out an entire nation, nobody has a right to do that.
And they're being attacked by the Hamas in the north.
Mm-hmm. But Hamas is a terrorist organization.
Well, yes. And the Hezbollah.
And the Hezbollah. And those people do not, I mean, they will use children as shields. I mean, they'll do anything. So, I mean, if you do not feel like, I just cannot imagine, I can't imagine if people started coming across our border and doing that, and then we weren't allowed to protect ourselves. No, you have a right to protect yourself. Because my understanding is there's different ones that's been coming, I mean, different Middle East people come and work in Israel, and I mean
They do. They are
it's not-
accepted.
It's
They let
not
them.
just Jews.
That's right. And I get speechless, which is kind of hard.
Well, it's so hard for us to understand what this
Mentality is.
It's more to me than just this little.
Mm-hmm. There was a woman a couple of weeks ago, I saw her podcast, I think we mentioned it, where she was in Jerusalem. They were walking in a forest in Israel and were attacked and jumped.
Mm-hmm.
And her companion, who was a Christian, was brutalized. I think that person died. And this woman was stabbed, I don't know how many times, by a machete and survived.
Mm.
She says it has nothing to do with them wanting land, because she was in Israel walking in a forest. And what are they going to do? Take over the forest of Israel? 2 men?
Mm. It's
And
it's
her whole
just
thing, yeah.
horrible that these people are having to go through this. It really, really is.
And it
And I
happens.
believe that
Oh.
all this is terrorists. I mean, the terrorists are the ones that are doing this,
And
from what I understand. Again, I'm not there, and it really is.
there's a really real good book, and I read it, and I can't quite recall the name of it. Was it The Seamstress Daughter? And it's about an Afghani young woman who had an education. Her whole family was getting an education. And they came in and decided Sharia law had to go in.
Mm.
And her father and brother-in-law had to escape because they were soldiers. They were being hunted
Mm.
because they were soldiers from the previous regime. And the only one that was left was her younger brother, and he would have to escort every woman out because they could not be out on the streets. And I don't know if I can spell this right, seamstress, I don't know if it's it. Nope.
Well, I think we have I know that we can do another podcast on this because, I think we need to
I want to do some
understand.
more research on it
Yeah, we
now.
need to do some more research, but we also need to understand that these people have been tormented for years.
Don't you have a right to defend yourself?
You do. You do. Just like you have a right to defend yourself in your home, we have a right to defend ourselves as a country. I mean, we can lock it down. We can go as far as you can look at the big view and go, as a country, we can close our borders. And then as each state, we can close our borders. And then as we get down into our counties, we can close our borders. And then you get down into the cities, and then down to finally get to my house. Oh, I'm closing my house up. I mean, if there's the macro view of things and then the micro.
Yep.
So no, you have a right to defend yourself.
How would you like it if somebody, started throwing bombs at us as we're sitting here talking?
Just because they didn't like us. I mean, it's just, I don't, but so they need prayer. The whole area needs prayer.
Lots of prayer.
It's the way it's supposed to be, though. It's the way the Bible tells us.
So I'm waiting for the trumpets. I'm telling you.
Me too.
Me
Me
too.
too.
And we
All right.
hope we go up together because we could have a lot of
I
fun.
know,
Podcasts in heaven. We hope we go that way.
All right, guys. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.